Hey boo, let me know in the comments if this is you. You're taking in a lot of information about manifesting and that it's always now, that the past, present, except for the present moment, and future really don't exist. They are what we perceive of events that we imagine and how we react or respond. Those are very different, two different things in the moment. And when it starts to feel, bear with me on this, may feel very familiar. When it starts to feel like you're swimming upstream, or you feel like you're in a hurry up and wait position, you hit a wall in some way, which is another way of saying you're stuck. But sometimes it's a very physical, visceral, feel it in your gut kind of feeling that something has gone off kilter in your approach to manifesting, or the difference between understanding it and knowing it in your head in a mental, intellectual kind of way, and actually moving with it naturally, which you might call surrendering, or going with the flow of it, or allowing the divine within you to move through you and bring everything into your physical reality. So let me know in the comments if this is an experience that you've had where you suddenly feel stalled or stuck, or where the limited physical mind is going through a process of just looping thoughts around. So you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. Everything's just going around and around. And I made a video a while ago about this called Being Stuck in Spin Cycle. And I'll add a link to it so that if you haven't seen it or you want to watch it again, that you can take another look at it or get introduced to it. So it's understanding that when you're in this feeling of looping and that hamster wheel, that whether, as opposed to say resting or feeling still inside, whatever is going on, these are very different experiences, because the experience of feeling inner stillness, and this is what in Hinduism the ancient sages called inaction, like you might say non-action, but inaction within action. Inaction within action. So you can be in the middle of any kind of chaotic, wild situation, or anything that's even taking you out of your comfort zone, say physically. It could be something you're demanding of yourself when you're being a gym beast, or it could be something that you're demanding of yourself to prepare for an exam for a very high certification or degree, or anything that brings that kind of tension up, physical tension, mental tension, because your attention is gone within into being still, into your deepest I amness. And I mean the deepest I amness, not just the mouthing I am, or using it to help you get quiet for a minute. I am that I am, I am that I am, that kind of repetitious affirmation that it's beyond an affirmation, and it has become literally your inner state of being, which always has been there. And this is your true self, that sense of inaction, quietness, absolute stillness that's within anything else that you're doing. And it's something that many people meditate to feel that, but it can come on you even in a sense without having to sit for hours and hours and hours. It's simply a sense of getting quiet and noticing that deep well, or that the depth of the bottom of the lake below the surface ripples, whatever's going on that seems to disturb the surface of the lake, but underneath it's absolute quiet, it's absolute calm. It's like the bottom of the ocean. Whatever storms are raging on the surface. So let's go back. You might say, well, what has this got to do with what you started off saying? Well, I can tell you that if you are looping around in your mind and feeling blocked about what desire you have, that is not coming from a place of stillness. That's coming from a place of agitation. And if that's been your experience, let me know in the comments. And that's when the mind starts, there's a lot of inner anxiety and inner war and inner frustration. And it's, in a sense, a self-delusion where the sense of separation that makes you feel separate from God is making you feel that things are turning against you, or things are just always very difficult. And yet, there's often a sense that there's something more, that what's missing? What could I be doing? What more could I be doing? How much else could I be doing? But it's not necessarily about always jumping on to another trend or another tactic or whatever. It's simply letting go of a lot of those things and coming back into your own essence and knowing that that's what I call the U-turn, the Y-O-U turns. You're turning around away from what you're falling for, in a sense, as the outside story. But it's the inside that has the true reality. And it's allowing that true reality that you can trust that reality. It's allowing yourself to be guided by that reality. And a lot of times we have these intuitive feelings. And there's an expression that goes, first thought, best thought. You ever notice when you're trying to find an answer for something, and something comes to you and you kind of brush it aside because you're thinking, that couldn't be it. And then it turns out that was the correct answer. Maybe it's something you were taking an exam on, or a quiz of some kind, but it comes up and later turns out to have been the way to go. And so it's really trusting that inner guidance system that we all have. That's your own inner GPS that's directing you. Come within, come in, you know? It's like, allow that. Excuse me. And every moment, if you are in that deep inner sense of inaction within action, that every moment is new, because every moment is now. And when you're in that eternally now, then the feeling of looping can go away. You're not caught in that. You can feel that you are in a higher state. this is where we often see many coaches and teachers here on YouTube or elsewhere, and they talk about reality shifting or reality transurfing, like the famous book by Vadim Zealand, shifting realities, reality jumping, and hopping across timelines, and we think, oh man, maybe you're thinking, if I could just do that. But actually, we're always in that place of shifting around. And this again relates back to getting out of that sense of looping or getting stuck or feeling blocked. So if you stick around, I will tell you a story about Neville Goddard, who taught the law of assumption, and how he shifted and saw himself differently. But it was not a complicated shift. And the idea is we think that this is a very complicated thing to have to do that requires lots of study and it's not, and lots of training. And yeah, we fall off the horse. I fall off the horse on a regular basis and get myself back on and say, I was looking in the wrong direction at what was making me feel stuck there, or assuming something was a fact when of course it was not. And these are things that will come up for us because we have a human component that we are that both human and divine. So it's when the human side feels blocked, yes, that's where that sense of getting stuck in our looping mind comes from. To our divine side, I and my Father are one, and my Father is greater. It's also that sense of there's never anything missing or lacking. It's like that ancient mantra that I mentioned I did a video about way back, and it goes, this is perfect, that is perfect. If you remove the perfect from the perfect, you're left with the perfect. I'm sort of rephrasing it, but that's basically what it is. That everything is perfect. There's nothing that is going to be an obstacle. There's nothing that is going to be a problem. There's nothing to loop around in the head. So it's not complicated. It's not a difficult, confusing, or complicated or thing to be even impatient about. And a lot of what comes up for so many of you is that feeling of impatience, that something is somehow missing from the equation. It's the where is it factor. Where did it go? Where is it? I haven't seen it yet. And when there is that sense of anxiety, there's one thing to anticipate your desire coming with a joyfulness, and another to start to feel anxious about it. And it's that we can turn that anxiety into excitement, because anxiety and excitement move through the nervous system in the same way. So why waste energy on anxiety when you can build energy on excitement? They're going to use the same. They're going to use the same space anyway. Why not use the one that feels better? Why not use the one that makes you feel excited and uplifted? And that in your own excitement and upliftment, you radiate that out to others as a blessing. And it's basically saying this moment. This is the simplest part of shifting. Is it's not what I'm seeing. It's where you can stop reacting to what appearances are. And this is a very basic aspect that's talked about a lot. And it's just that a lot of people, give lip service to it, you know, maybe kind of saying, oh yeah, right, and then just going back to feeling that again, that where is it, and it's in you. It's in you, and you have to own up to where it is. It's in you to really come through when you're ready to have it come. So it will only come when you have shifted the version of yourself that you have been experiencing through. And if you want to level up that version, then you must make that change so that when you look at yourself as you had been, you don't even know that person. That person doesn't seem to even exist anymore because you have changed that much. It's a decision to change. What goes in accordance with the current version of me, that I am expressing myself as God. It's within all versions, but sometimes we're more able, because of what we had decided is the version. It's more of an aversion, which is an avoidance of seeing what you really ultimately are right now. And yes, you get to choose the one that you want and totally inhabit the feeling. So what happens, I'm going to use a little wordplay on this. What you want to avoid doing is inhibiting the feeling. You want to inhabit that feeling. But a lot of times, and if this is you, mention it in the comments, maybe that felt like that what ended up happening was the feeling that you wanted actually got suppressed because there were fears or guilt or some kind of shame or embarrassment that may have resulted from a much earlier trauma. So it's really about, it's not circumstances. It's not a situation. What it is that it's about stopping, pausing, noticing, and taking your noticing, your awareness, off of what you are adding the meaning to out there, and putting it back within, into what you want, into your ideal leveled up you. And what you're imagining is the highest and best for yourself. And that goes on to impact everyone else who might be involved, who you may know or who you may not know at the time you're imagining this. So, because that's where your actual real reality shift is within. And it's where it's being formed. So the longer you keep on trying to fix an external condition or get frustrated with an external condition, the longer it will keep pumping that negative quality back into the condition, pumping that energy back into that situation you don't like. So it's giving energy to the circumstances. And it's just building up their power that you're imagining over you, or that you believe is the power they have over you. And just literally stop. And this is where I was talking about Neville's story about him and his teacher, Abdullah. Neville often talked about his teacher, the Ethiopian rabbi Abdullah, and probably the best known story he's told about Abdullah and stick around, you will hear an amazing story, is that Neville wanted to take his family, his wife and his daughter, to back home to Barbados, which is where Neville was from, and he wanted to see his family there. And at the time, Neville did not have very much money, and he mentioned to Abdullah that he wanted to go back, and he went to the steamship office and found out he could get third-class passage for them. And he goes running back to Abdullah and says, guess what, Ab? I can take my family back to Barbados and we can go third class. And this got Abdullah really, really ticked off. He got very distressed and upset with Neville. And he said, you went to Barbados first class passage. That's it. And he got up and he went inside to his studio and he slammed the door on Neville. And in a sense, it meant that the larger symbolism of that story is that it's like slamming the doors of the senses, which are what we use, which is what our limited mind uses to take that information and make perceptions out of it. And some of those perceptions are going to support you, and some of them are going to be, they're going to create more challenges because we read disastrous, negative things into them. We project our fears onto them. We confuse one type of information with another type of information, and it's conflicting. Because everything that you're seeing outside hasn't got a real meaning. It's neutral. It really hasn't got anything good or bad. It's things going on. But if we project onto it, it's going to reflect what our innermost feeling is, that the limited mind is carrying. And Neville decided, he said, okay, he's going to imagine it differently. He's going to go shut out what he found out outside. He could get third-class passage. And he imagined that he and his wife and daughter had already gone to Barbados and were now on the ship going back, having sailed there first class. And it was a very strong feeling. He really went for the feeling of the pleasure of the trip, the wonderful ride on first class, sailing there first class, seeing his family, and then feeling, now that he was already on his way back to the States, that he was already feeling lonesome. Wistful was the term that Neville used. Is that kind of sentimental? Oh, I feel kind of sad about it now. I'm not going to see them again for a while. But the trip happened because it's always now. He doesn't have to think about it's out in the future somewhere. No, it's now. So if that is as simple a reality shift as you can make, is to just know that something already happened, because it already did. So once that's known in consciousness, that you're clear that it already happened, you got that message out, Neville went back to the ticket office, and it turned out he could get bumped to first class without it be costing him extra money. And off he and his wife and child went. And this is the meaning of that it was easy, that there was no need to settle for less than you were meant to have. The Neville was meant to have. And this is what we do a lot of times. We settle for something that we basically know. We know it's less than we're meant to have, but we settle for it anyway. And if that's been you, let me know in the comments. You know, think of all the times you may have stopped short because you were afraid or hesitant to imagine bigger because you have a difficult time receiving. And the fear isn't just fear of failure, but it's fear of getting what you want and what the consequences might be. Whatever it is. The job you really wanted, or you took some kind of fill in the gap kind of job, but you could have just as easily have gotten a job you really wanted. And if you go deeper into what you really feel and what you really want, a large part of it is that deservingness. And this also is a blocker. When we use certain circumstances, we're the ones turning circumstances against ourselves. Because if we're feeling we don't deserve to receive, then we will be feeling blocked and stuck. It's the way these things go in consciousness. And it's when we do not stop to notice that these self-judgments are what is blocking us. It's what blocks you. So it's self-judging, beating yourself up, or buying into someone else's feelings about you, or buying into what we think other people are feeling about us. That's an even greater projection. But when you slam the door on what appears to be happening outside, you are opening the portal of consciousness to move you, to move through you, beyond what anything you could have expected, to bring you way more than your limited mind could possibly know. So that's what I have for you in this video today. If this resonates, I would love you to give it a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Love you so much, Boo. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.